Whoa. Oh. Hello everyone, this is Charles from Tandem Tea Company. I'm a tea professional from the beautiful city of New Orleans, and today I'm here to taste these 6 different green tea bag companies to determine which green tea bag will reign supreme. Let's get right into it. The brands we have here today are Lipton's Pure Green Tea, Best Choice Green Tea, S.E. Grocers Green Tea, Twinings Green Tea, Bigelow Green Tea, and Tetley Natural Green Tea. Before we get into tasting these, I want to taste a high quality loose leaf green tea, and the tea that I want to taste is the Tandem Tea's Dragon Well. We're brewing the Dragon Well in a sampling cup. All of our tea bags today will also be brewed in this container. It's just a way to keep the container consistent and the water volume consistent. I'm going to prepare every single one of these teas the same, and I'm going to do it the way I would, which is a 175 degree water for about 2 minutes. So this is what I like to see. Nice, big, full leaves here, completely intact. Very, very good. It fills the palate. It's very warming, not too much astringency. Very grassy in taste, but also slightly floral. It's almost like a nice, light dew on a field of fresh grass. Overall, a very delicious tea. Alright, so now that I have a good baseline, let's go ahead and get the first tea out here. This is Lipton's Pure Green Tea, 100% natural. That's a good sign. I like my teas to be 100% natural. Lipton green teas are blended from freshly picked young leaves for a light and fresh taste. Add a little uplift to your day. You know, my day could use a little bit of uplifting if I'm being honest, so I'm looking forward to that. Brew in boiling water 1 to 2 minutes or to desired strength. Remove tea bag and sweeten to taste. Now, I wouldn't recommend boiling water. When water's too hot, especially for green tea, you're going to extract a lot of the tannins, which are the bitter flavors in tea. And green tea has a lot of tannins in it. If you're boiling water, let it cool. Let it cool for 7 to 10 minutes. And that will just remove a lot of the bitterness and astringency from your tea. So these leaves are what you would normally expect from a tea bag. It's called dust and fannings. As you can see, the particles are much smaller than the Dragon Well. Even with cooler water, it's still slightly bitter. It doesn't taste burnt, but it does have this like cooked flavor to it. Just not a lot going for me here. I don't really taste much of anything. You certainly don't get that depth of flavor like you do with the Dragon Well, and I don't even taste grassiness. It leaves a very bitter aftertaste. I'm going to put this one, just because we're starting, I'm going to put this somewhere in the middle. Let's make it number 3 for now. No, let's make it number 4. Let's make it number 4, and let's move on to the next tea. So the next tea brand we have here is Tetley Natural Green Tea, refreshing and light with no bitter taste. Well, we'll see about that, won't we? 2016 Chef's Best Award of Excellence. How can it be bad? Using an age-old Japanese technique and only the finest green teas, the natural green tea flavor is locked in after picking to keep the tea fresh and flavorful. Well, if this was prepared with age-old Japanese techniques, my guess is that this tea is going to be steamed like a sencha. So the liqueur is pretty much the same, but I will say it's much more yellow and golden than Lipton's was, and it's reflecting the light quite nicely. I'm actually starting to taste some grassy flavor. When they name-dropped Japan, I was expecting a seaweedy vegetal flavor, but I'm not really getting that. I'm getting much more of that typical Chinese green tea, grassy, slightly smoky flavor. I gotta give them points for letting some grassy notes come through. There's not too much bitterness, much less than the Lipton's. I'm gonna put it at number 3 for now, just in front of the Lipton's, and let's get on to the next tea. Alright, so this is the S.E. Grocers Green Tea, which is the store brand for Winn-Dixie. For a delicious cup of hot tea, bring fresh cold water to a rolling boil. Let water cool 1 minute after boiling. Pour water over a tea bag and steep for 1 to 2 minutes. As far as instructions go, those are pretty good. I like that they recognize that the importance of letting water rest. I don't think a minute is long enough, but it could be, and I think that's great. I have to say, the liqueur on this one is pretty similar to the ones we've been tasting. It might be slightly clearer. I do like the looks of it. Still not getting much of anything smell-wise. Maybe slightly floral, but it's not bad. It is slightly bitter. It does have a slight astringency to it in the finish. It does leave a bit of dryness in your mouth. But it does, it is warming. It is pleasant. It's better than the Liptons, but is it better than Tetley? The tastes are pretty identical, but the SE Grocers did end up having some slight astringency to it. SE Grocers, you are getting position number 3, and Tetley has moved up to position number 2. Let's move on to the next tea. The fourth tea we have is Twinings Green Tea, 100% natural ingredients, pure green tea with a fresh taste, smooth flavor, and enticing aroma. Now, none of these have been particularly aromatic, so we'll see if Twinings holds up. Brewing suggestions: hot tea. Pour freshly boiled water over tea bag and allow it to brew for 2 minutes or to your desired strength. Again, that's not how I would recommend doing it. Alright, I'm actually liking the color of this one. It's still cloudy, but it's definitely one of the more translucent liqueurs that we've gotten today, which I think is a good sign. As far as aromatics go, it is kind of floral. I don't think it's anything worth putting right on front of the box, but it does have a bit of an aroma to it. Slightly toasty, slightly floral. Let's see if that comes through in the taste. I do get a slightly toastier, slightly nuttier flavor out of this tea. I think Twinings it's on to something here, It has a unique flavor. It's not super grassy, super vegetal. It does have a bit more of a smokiness to it, but I think when you're making a tea bag and you have these dusts and fannings, I think the way you heat it might be different than you would with a whole leaf, loose leaf tea. I think Twinings did something pretty smart, which was bring the flavor of the heat out so that these bitter astringent flavors don't really come out in your flavor profile. I'm going to go ahead and put that at the number 1 spot, and let's keep going. Alright guys, our 5th tea of the day is Bigelow. Be sure to start with fresh cold water and bring to just under a boil. Pour water over tea bag, steep for 3 minutes. 3 minutes is the longest time I've seen on a box so far. I don't know if I would agree with that. I would say 2 at most. And again, boiling water, not my cup of tea, if you will. Wow, well the first thing I notice is that this liqueur is much darker than most of the other teas that we've tried today. I think it's the darkest one so far. As far as aroma goes, there really isn't one. I mean, it doesn't really taste like anything, whereas the others were slightly bitter or slightly smoky. This is very, very flat. I mean, they're advertising the earthy flavors of delicious tea. I don't taste anything earthy about this. It looks earthy. It looks kind of like dirt in a good way. I mean, it's a nice amber liqueur, but the taste is really neutral. It tastes like nothing. While some of these teas were slightly bitter, this one has none of that, so I give it points. However, its absolute lack of depth of flavor, of any flavor at all, makes me want to put it lower. I'll give you 2. I'll give you 2. Alright, our final green tea of the day is none other than Best Choice 100% Natural Green Tea. Natural source of flavonoids. That's a word I'm not super familiar with. Compared to Lipton. It says right there on the box. If you're that confident, I'm curious to try it. For a delicious cup of hot tea, bring fresh cold water to a boil, let water cool for 1 minute after boiling, pour water over 1 tea bag and steep for 1 to 2 minutes. That's pretty good brewing instructions, honestly. It's got a nice shine to it. It's a little cloudy, but it doesn't look too bad. Whoa. Oh. I mean, the flavor attacks you right away. It definitely has one of the strongest flavors of all the teas that we've tasted today, but I'm not sure if that necessarily is a good thing. You get a very interesting initial flavor that I like, but it lasts for like a split second and then it's gone and it switches over to this bitter finish that's quite long on the palate and not the most pleasant. Tetley, you were good, but you were so similar to SE Grocers, and there was nothing really special about you, so that's why you're getting bumped down. Sorry, guys. So all of these moved down a spot, and the best choice is locked in at number 3. So there you have it, the official lineup. Best choice had some interesting flavors, but some imperfections, and then Bigelow and Twinings were both pretty impressive, but at the end of the day, Twinings is tea number 1. It had an interesting flavor. They used the heat to their advantage, and I think that comes from, a long, many years of being in the business, since 1706. So if you've been making tea for 300 plus years, you start to get pretty good at it. So hats off to you, Twinings, for taking the number 1 spot. But at the end of the day, none of them came anywhere close to the delicious Dragon Well tea that I kept off to the side, and that's the one that I'm going to be continuing to sip. So thank you everyone for watching. If you're still curious about green teas, nothing wrong with Teabags, but if you're looking for a little more flavor, a little more quality, head on over to tandemtea.com. We have tons of different green teas, tons of different varieties there for you to taste, and I would love to hear your feedback. So go ahead and try those. If you want me to taste something else, go ahead and mention that in the comments. I would love to make a video based on your recommendations. Thank you all for watching, and as always, steep on steeping on. See you next time.